So it seems as though I have to explain my position once again. Not that I have to, but because I choose to. It seems that it's unclear to certain individuals why I have the platform that I have, why there are certain topics that I choose to discuss, why there are certain things that I find problematic that I feel needs to be addressed, because there should be solutions, some correctiveness, some accountability that has to be put in place in order for these issues or these things that I see problematic to be resolved. Okay. I'm not one to sit there and give those a pat on the back and say, continue on with the fuckery. Continue with playing with people's lives as if they are of no value. Have no kind of repercussions to your actions just because you are of this position or because you play this role in society. Or that you should be held up to a higher standard and to be idolized as if you're some sort of a god while the rest of us are peons. But then you only want to acknowledge your humanity is when you get caught doing something that you know damn well you wasn't supposed to be doing in the first place. Now you have to face the music just like any one of us when we are caught doing something that's wrong. And we are to be held accountable. Why address the issues that have been, how should I say, coming with such magnitude in regards to highlighting the misconduct of law enforcement and for something that they've been getting away with for so long because we didn't have the resources at our disposal to present a secure or a concrete argument with a leg to stand on to where it is now no longer our word against theirs. Now you're seeing through the eyes of the technology that we have at our disposal that police misconduct comes with police that are engaging with child pornography, sex trafficking, formulating gangs within their own sheriff's department, abusing people that aren't criminals, killing people unjustly despite the race or color, engaging in corruption, planting evidence on people, targeting their own within their own department, sexually harassing and threatening female officers, beating up on inmates, having inmates die within their custody because of the abuse that they sustain. But all of that is to be ignored because you got the attitude of some that says, if you address this, you're anti-police. If you address this, it shows your bias towards cops. If you present this, it just says that you hate officers. No. It's just pointing out the facts or the facts that there are people that shouldn't be in law enforcement. Qualified immunity shouldn't shield these people's bad behaviors. They shouldn't be rewarded when they fuck up with paid leave. Because if that's any one of us to have done half the shit that these people get away with, but it's wrong in the opinions of some to address this. Because that somehow makes you anti-police. How? Because on the flip side of that, where my argument stood, and I'll reiterate this bullshit again, for the slow and impaired, when these officers get away with the shit that they get away with, and there is no justice behind the families that have been affected, the individuals that are dealing with recovery or are no longer here, those that actually go in and take their job seriously, they don't have a biased attitude when they're dealing with the public. Taking the oath that they took is something they take seriously. Serving the community is part of their job description, and they understand that. And when it comes to dealing with actual criminals, those that are actual menace to society, those that are actually doing wrong, not individuals that police just roll up on and start instigating, antagonizing, creating a situation that they escalate. Becoming bullies to some sort of degree. Because hurt people do hurt people. So when they get into a position that they have some kind of power, some sense of authority, so now they're on some kind of a high horse, it gives a bad outlook on departments. And it not only affects the people who they target, but it also affects their fellow officers. Because now they created a situation where these officers got to go out and deal with the public. And because of the few bad apples that I highlight, their bullshit has been attached to the officers who do not deserve it. So they can't go and do their jobs without ridicule. Now, you say that I'm wrong for pointing out the bad apples. Give them a pass. Give them a pat on the back. Out of sight, out of mind. Okay? Just ignore the fact that they're fucking up. What they're doing is affecting those in the community. Don't address it. Because if you address it, you're anti. But yet it's cool when those same people who love to throw up the black on black crime and say, what are you doing in your community? How come you condone the behaviors of the crime that takes place within the black community? But you don't address the fact that there are activists within the black community. There are organized groups within the black community. There are people that have organizations that are against black on black crime. But you don't acknowledge that. But you talk about what I conveniently skip over, right? You talk about what I conveniently unacknowledge. But when it's good for you to have a particular narrative, take it and run with it. Putting down the community as a whole. And as I stated before, disregard anything about those that aren't attached to the individuals that make the whole community look bad. Sound familiar? Does it have a familiar ring to it? But it's okay when you target marginalized communities for your talking points. But if we do that when it comes to agencies, we're wrong. As I've stated, I don't condone the black on black violence. I don't co-sign off of the behaviors of gang violence. I've been subjected to gang violence growing up myself. I've been subjected to police brutality growing up. I've been subjected to racist individuals growing up. And yes, I'm still alive to talk about the situation, But yet, regardless of the fact of me still being here to talk about it, being that I am fortunate enough to still be here, I can address it. Addressing it with the means to come up with a solution to see how this can be corrected. But because it's being addressed, that means no one wants to solve these problems. They rather you be quiet, remain silent. And when I talk about certain issues, I try to balance the skills as evenly as possible. But somewhere you gotta bring certain things and put it on the table for there to be an understanding where all this bullshit has started to begin with. So people can have an understanding that this shit didn't just come to exist just because. There's a history behind a lot of this shit that we are dealing with today. But since people are so against history, as I keep saying, ignorance prevails. And then I get these fucking individuals that if they couldn't make noise on someone else's platform, they choose to come over here and stir this shit up on their mind. But they don't have a platform of their own. If you want to be heard, if you're so that heartfelt and what you stand on and what you believe in, create your own fucking content. So those with like minds such as you can cherry pick through the shit to support your own narrative. Because I don't just be selective. If I present something, I'm going to also show the opposite of what I stand on. I never said that all cops are bad. I don't go along with the slogan that there's no such things as good cops. I don't say that. Because I have the understanding that those that are good don't get rewarded. Those that are bad do. When you have cops that try to do the right thing, that try to do their job without all the extra bullshit, they're the ones that get penalized. But the ones that fuck up, they get rewarded. But I guess that's just how society is, right? I got kids that I raise. And I'm going to just put it like this so that the understanding can be understood. If, say, my daughter decides to become a cop and my son decides to become a cop, and say my daughter has an issue with men, okay? So she decides that as a cop, she's just going to target men. Write them some bullshit infraction, harass them, plant drugs on them, create a situation, escalate a situation, and she gets away with it. So because she got a distaste for men and because she's a cop, she can use her power to abuse it because she has an attitude and a bias against men. My son, on the other hand, he also decides to become an officer. He goes, does his job. He's not looking at race. He's not looking at gender. He's not looking at religion. None of that. He looks at, if you're doing right, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll work with you. Maybe I'll give you a warning on this. Next time, I won't be so lenient. He sees the actual crime being taken place. There's a robbery, or there's a domestic dispute, or there's kids being targeted by gangs, and he engages. He don't tuck tail and run. He actually runs towards danger. He doesn't create a situation or runs from it. He knows how to talk to people. He's articulate. He treats them like they're human beings just like he is. He doesn't belittle them. He doesn't treat them that they're less than. And he doesn't use his position to fuck over other people. You got two fucking examples. Now, I could be one to sit there and talk about, I have people in my family that are law enforcement. Do I hate them because they're cops? No. Have they shared some of their experiences? Have they told me what they go through when they have to engage with their peers and some of the bullshit that they have to entertain within and outside the department? Yes. But you don't know that. There's a lot of things to my family dynamics that I really don't put onto this platform, because when I share certain things, it's because I share it and then I give a level of understanding. When I talk about how these bad cops be putting the lives of other cops in danger, those other cops that I'm talking about are my family members. So when my family members have to go out and engage with the public, now they're being hit with the rhetoric from the public, because now there's a generalized perception because these fucking cops haven't been put in their fucking place. And because of the qualified immunity that shields them from any accountability, it's the fucking problem. Another thing that I want to address, this whole you're anti-white, because I present certain things under my platform. I present it with the intention of people having the knowledge of why things are the way they are in certain demographics, why people continue to have this, well, if you don't like here, go back to Africa, or go back to Mexico, or go back to here, or go back to there. The entitlement. This is our shit. You're just a visitor here. You go by our rules. If you can't adapt, if you can't adjust, if you can't conform, then bye. And if you can't tolerate the shit that we project onto you, bye. But yet, when that shit comes full circle and they get a taste of their own medicine, oh, now you want to acknowledge the shit. Now you want to view it as a problem. But it wasn't a problem prior, right? And then people want to start talking about, well, blacks own black slaves and Jewish people own black slaves and this and this and that. People kill me because they be stuck on that whole slavery shit, but they don't talk about the laws and the shit that was created in society that excluded black people, period. You ain't got no talking points against that shit, but you're quick to go back to slavery, but you don't want to come in on the aftermath. You don't want to talk about when they bomb productive, flourishing black communities that you say needed to pull themselves up by the bootstrap, but you don't say nothing against the motherfuckers that demolished those communities. You give them a pass. You stay conveniently fucking quiet. Why is that? Oh, because your bias is showing. Oh, because you're selective in the shit that you want to address. But when somebody has a response to those events that has occurred, you're telling them they don't have a right to. Because it goes against your perception. Again, create your own fucking platform. If you got so much to say, create your own content. Post whatever fits your narrative. Some of these individuals, and you might be thinking I'm talking about somebody who is white, and I'm not. Because 9 times out of 10, it be your own to do you in. So when these same individuals have an issue with the black community, you're part of the issue that needs to be addressed as well. You're part of the reason why we are divided. And yeah, I might say some shit that might trigger the fuck out of you because you done took me to that point. But I could sit there and point out a lot of things that I've experienced, and I still don't hold no ill will towards people. I still don't hold no animosity. Instead, I try to sit and understand why people are the way that they are, or where they're coming from, or how did they get to the point where they're at, and why they think or see things the way that they do, so that I can have an understanding. When I moved out of Hartford, Connecticut, and that area of Connecticut was flourishing with gang violence and stuff like that. I never joined any gangs, never partook in any of the gangs, and I didn't agree with the bullshit. So when my parents moved out of Hartford to Colchester, which was a predominant white town with people that have money, right? Some of the people in the town were, I would say, prejudiced, racist to a certain degree. But because of me working in that town, I had no choice but to interact with them. And through our encounters, we had conversations and stuff like that. When it came to find out that I did attend private schools, I worked while I was in high school. I graduated, went to college, did about a year in college, but I got tired of school at that point. And I wasn't the stereotype that they were raised to believe applied to all black people. And I told them, yes, I'm mixed, raised, adopted, and raised by an all black family. My family never taught me to look at white people as being racist, judge the individuals. I said it kind of was surreal to actually engage with them. But because we were able to sit down and have a conversation, and they were like, pretty much this is how we were raised. We were taught this, we were taught that, and things like that. I mean, they might still hold on to those, but because of their interaction with me, they saw different, if that makes sense. I wasn't the stereotype that they were conditioned to believe that was applied to all black people. Seeing my family, and they never disrespected my family. And the crazy thing about it is, if they have friends that came over and would start to spew that, oh look at those niggas, they check them real quick. They're like, no, leave them alone. We know their son. So there was a certain amount of respect that came out of that. That's one experience that I wanted to share with you guys. There's an end game to me sharing the content that I do. How I see things, the way I see things is unique, I feel, because of my position in life. I understand people may not always agree with what I put out there. It comes with the territory. But when people want to blatantly be condescending, when people want to conveniently jump to conclusions and say that I'm this or say that I'm that, if you know nothing about me, my suggestion to you, coming from me personally, because I could tell you not through a fucking text, is shut the fuck up. And if you got an issue with me, you can address me in the comment section. I can give you my number and we can deal with this on a basis that adults deal with things the way that they deal with it. Anyway, that's what I got. And this basically was a video in dedication to a particular person in the comment section that cherry picks through my content and only address certain things under certain videos. But don't say anything under any other content that goes against what he may believe. I can understand why Ricky Manor banned your ass from his fucking platform. Anyway, until next time, until next video,